What's up, everybody? Welcome to part 9 of this 10-part series here at Paracaresis called Prayer. We're coming down to the second to the last part of the prayer. Yesterday we talked about the prayer of give us today what we need, like today, give us this day our daily bread. Now, traditionally, this part of the section, if you memorized it growing up or whatever, it's this: and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Or another translation, maybe you grew up memorizing, is forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. A more contemporary version says, and forgive us our sins as we have forgiven those who sin against us. Now, I think this is a little bit more accurate and kind of blows our mind a little bit. This part of the prayer that Jesus is teaching his disciples, he says, forgive us, God. God, forgive me. Like, I screw up, clearly. I'm owning that. You already know that, right? So forgive me. But then in the grammar it says, forgive me as we have forgiven. Whoa, let's just take a moment and pause on this for a second. God, forgive me as we have forgiven those who sin against us. In other words, you know all those people who wronged me and I have forgiven them? I really want you, I need you to forgive me like that. So in other words, before we go to God and ask for forgiveness for all how we've missed the mark, we've talked about this before. Sin, like what is sin? It's this archery term that ultimately means I took aim at a target and I missed. We all missed the mark. And so with this section of the prayer, Jesus teaches, God, forgive me for missing the mark, because I do that all the time. But forgive me the way I have already forgiven others who missed the mark against me. This is huge. In other words, you and I, Jesus addresses this issue when talking to God. It's like before we begin this conversation with God, before we say, Dear Daddy, before we can even enter into prayer, an honest conversation in prayer of listening and speaking to this God of the universe, we first need to forgive others. This is hard. It hurts to forgive. And chances are you watching right now when I say that we are called, Jesus is saying, before you talk to God, there are people that you need to forgive on the planet. Forgive them. Have that hard conversation first. Just now as I say that, there are names and there are faces and there are situations and stories and narratives and problems and hurt and pain that are coming to your mind. Jesus says, before you talk to God, we need to forgive those people. Now, let me quickly give some insight as to what I think forgiveness is and what it isn't. There's a saying that I hear people say all the time, and I'm sure you've said it or have heard it, and that is, well, to forgive is to forget. Or people will say, oh, just get over it, forgive and forget. And basically, I'm here to tell you forgiveness does not mean to forget. Because after all, if you forget whatever the situation is that you need to give forgiveness for, then does the forgiveness actually mean anything? No. In fact, the only reason forgiveness is powerful and palpable and meaningful and emotional and real at all is because we don't forget. So, I just want to quickly clarify, forgiveness never means to forget. That's not what we're called to do. But we are called to forgive. Now, what does that mean? I love what C.S. Lewis says about forgiveness. If you've never read Lewis, he's amazing. You should just stop watching me, go get a copy of Mere Christianity and just study that mess because it is powerful and amazing. But C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity kind of breaks down forgiveness, and this is kind of his definition of forgiveness. And ultimately, Lewis says forgiveness is wishing the other person well. Forgiveness is this idea that yes, they hurt you, they wronged you, injustice was done, they owe you, they are in debt to you. But not only do you not make them pay up the debt, but you have forgiven them. In other words, you not only, whatever the debt is, let's say it's $20, you not only forgive them that 20 bucks. Like, don't make them pay that 20 bucks. It's actually a double portion of that debt. So it's like, okay, you owe me 20 bucks. I'm actually just gonna credit you like 40 bucks. This whole idea of you're in debt to me, but I'm going to not just forgive the equivalent of that debt, but then double it in generosity. You owe me, but I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to not hold this debt accountable. I'm not going to hold this debt above you or over your head and make you feel bad about it. In fact, I'm going to repay you some. And then this whole idea of just wish them well. Now, understand what this means. Someone has wronged you and you are forgiving them. That doesn't necessarily mean that you become friends again. Doesn't even mean that you like them. Doesn't even mean that you have to love them. All it means is that you wish them well. Maybe you don't talk anymore, maybe you don't hang out anymore, but the idea is to be authentic, to be real, don't be fake, and then wish them well. But God, forgive me because I owe you a lot. I missed the mark a lot and I am in debt a lot. So forgive me, God, the way I have already forgiven others. It's a call for you and I to forgive people. So who do you have to forgive? Because I know people that I need to forgive. So before you pray, think about who are those faces, who are those names that you need to forgive first. And then maybe go to our Father, oh Daddy, and say, you know how I forgive those other people? I need you to forgive me like that and forgive us our sins as we have forgiven those who sin against us, who miss the mark against us. Stay tuned tomorrow for our final installment of the Lord's Prayer.